Meet Wolverine, arguably one of the most iconic superheroes in history. He has extendable claws, heals incredibly fast, and never ages. He uses these abilities to fight bad guys in comic books. According to X-Men lore, he has this ability because of a mutation. Or perhaps you're more of a Spider-Man fan. As you probably know, he acquired his spidey senses and wall-crawling abilities because a radioactive spider bite caused him to mutate. This is how mutations are shown in superhero movies, but can real-life mutations really create superheroes? Could they give you superpowers that you've always wished for? Before we answer that, we should first understand what mutations are and how they work. A mutation is any random change in the DNA of a cell or an organism. DNA is a long, helical molecule with all the instructions for how living things will develop. DNA is the instruction book for how to make various molecular machines, called proteins.
To understand how mutations affect our body, we need to quickly recap how DNA works. If we think of a gene, which is just a section of DNA that codes for a protein, then all it really is a particular sequence of bases. Each group of 3 bases is called a triplet, or a codon, and codes for one of the 20 different amino acids. So this codon here, ACC, might code for amino acid 7, while this other one, CTA, could code for amino acid 18. By doing this for all of the triplets, and then combining the amino acids together in the correct order, we create a long chain of amino acids, which can then fold up by itself to form a protein. However, if this piece of DNA had a mutation, for example this G here changed to a T, then the amino acid that this codon codes for might change as well. And this small change can have lots of knock-on effects. This is because the overall sequence of amino acids would now be different, and so the protein that it ends up forming would be different as well, meaning that it can have a different shape or function.
These proteins and their function in the body lead to the traits that make us unique, like eye color or our blood type. Therefore, when the DNA changes, our proteins might also change, which could lead to a change in a trait. Most of the time, mutations don't cause a significant change. These are considered neutral mutations. Sometimes, however, mutations can be good or bad. When they're bad, they lead to diseases like cancer or cystic fibrosis. On the other hand, when they're good, it can allow an organism to more readily adapt to its environment. In that case, could a good mutation lead to a superpower? Well, probably not the really outlandish ones, such as controlling the weather or altering time. However, exceptional strength, super speed, and even rapid healing might be possible. Or at least, this is what scientists have observed so far.
Most of the time, though, a mutation doesn't have any significant effect. This is because they'll often only affect a protein very slightly. So it might look a tiny bit different, but it still works in basically the same way.
Mutations will only pass on to children when they happen in the DNA in the egg or the sperm. A mutation in any other cells, for example through a radioactive spider bite, probably wouldn't lead to a superpower. One spider bite probably also won't lead to the trillions of cells in our body mutating. For that to happen, almost every cell would have to be bitten by a spider or affected by that radioactive venom. To complicate this even further, every cell would also have to experience the same type of mutation.
We all carry mutations. There is no such thing as totally normal DNA. We all have mutations. We all expose ourselves to sunlight. We all expose ourselves to different foods. We all make mistakes as our DNA is being copied. So all of this stuff happens. Now, fortunately, there is an incredible proofreading function when we copy DNA so that the cells have lots of repair mechanisms to repair mutations. But sometimes even those slip through the cracks.
What are some things that may cause mutations?
I always say that people are the DNA of every individual, and if you want to blame your DNA, who do we blame? Okay, number one, we blame mom and dad because most of the DNA we got was from mom and dad. But then you have to think about blaming yourself because mutations can occur in sunlight. Sunlight can actually damage DNA. There are examples in your environment of pesticides, of food you eat, of toxic agents. We are all exposed to things that can alter our DNA. And some of us do a better job of repairing. Some of us don't repair nearly as well. So mom and dad are to blame. Things you expose yourself are to blame. And then the third one, which is the hardest one to explain, bad luck. I mean, imagine you got to copy those 3 billion bases over and over and over and over again. Every once in a while, you make a mistake. And it's nobody's fault. It had nothing to do with what you ate. It had nothing to do with mom and dad. It's just that the system put the wrong piece in there. It's a mutation, but it's a random error of copying DNA.
In conclusion, it is possible, but highly improbable, that you could become a superhero like Spider-Man after being bit by a radioactive creature. And the chances of your kid becoming the next Wolverine are slim to none.